It's a flight that I've taken many times before, but today is the first time on Singapore's 787-10. Let's see how it compares to the A350. Hi there, my name is Kevin. This channel came from a love of traveling, a love of the full process and the journey itself. I feature airline trip reports and high-end hotel reviews from all over the world. My reviews aren't sponsored by airlines or hotels, so you can be sure to get my unbiased opinion. Am I an expert? You can decide. Am I fair? Yeah, I am. Let's get into it. Welcome to Singapore, specifically Terminal 2 of Singapore's Changi Airport, where the new carpets are so thick that you can barely spin your spinner. I'm now making my way to Terminal 3 to spend a bit of time at the SilverKris Lounge. This flight is my second, well, I guess third leg on this trip, which started in Cape Town. If you'd like to know the exact redemption rate that I paid for this trip, or my next 5 videos in queue, please check out the description below. The SilverKris Lounge that we're heading to now has been open since November of 2021, following a complete renovation. This is the first time, though, that I've been here since its grand opening and the completion of the entrance with one of the more striking signs that I've seen. Certainly cannot miss it. You likely know it already, but this flight was not paid for by Singapore Airlines and they had no knowledge of me being on board. You'd imagine content like this must be funded somehow, and that's where your subscriptions, likes, and comments all come into play, as they genuinely do help the channel grow, which means more honest content for you. I also have a Patreon linked in the description below if you're interested. A genuine thank you in advance for stopping by. While the first class lounge is up the escalators and to the left, we're heading to the business class side. Unlike some other Star Alliance members, Singapore Airlines does not offer entry to Star Alliance Gold passengers in this lounge. Rather, they have a separate KrisFlyer Gold Lounge, which was recently renovated as well, which status members can access. This is by far the busiest that I've seen the lounge and the airport in general since prior to COVID. Changi is finally back to where it seems to be almost normal. As you'd expect, there's a selection of food on offer. I always seem to find myself here during breakfast, but there's a variety of Indian, Chinese, and Western dishes, along with your standard coffee and bar fare. Singapore Airlines, the parent company, has in recent years seen a lot of consolidation both before and during COVID. In May of 2021, Singapore Airlines incorporated Silk Air into their operation. Silk Air was the regional full-service carrier wholly owned by SQ since its founding in 1989. With this merger of sorts, Singapore Airlines is now operating narrow-body aircraft for the first time in its modern history. SQ flies to almost 80 destinations now, but it wasn't always easy going for them in the beginning. After their establishment in 1972, the airline had trouble gaining slots to fly to London. After months of failed negotiation, Singapore gave notice to BOAC that they would lose their rights to land in Singapore after 1 year if the UK didn't offer slots, a tactic which did seem to work and spurred growth throughout Europe soon after. Singapore Airlines is one of the more prominent airlines serving what's called the Kangaroo Route, linking Europe with Australia and New Zealand. They currently fly to 12 cities in Europe and 9 in Australia and New Zealand. Time to head to the gate, which was overcrowded and a bit chaotic, one of the negative side effects of having security at each gate and not opening the gate seating area well in advance. Today, I believe is the second time that I featured a 787-10 on the channel, the other time being on Saudia. Singapore Airlines was the launch customer for this variant, and they currently have 15 in the fleet with a further 13 on the way. The Dash 10 is essentially a longer Dash 9, making them ideal for high-capacity regional routes, but limiting their range. Currently, Tokyo Narita is the longest route for SQ's Dash 10s, which actually does surprise me that they've put it on what I would guess to be a premium-heavy route. Today's flight to Saigon is the Dash 10's shortest route. Our 4-year-old aircraft today was looking a little bit rough around the cockpit area though, something that is very out of character for Singapore Airlines. Boarding began 30 minutes before departure and priority was given to business class and PPS Club members. Singapore Airlines generally boards their own Elite and Star Alliance Gold members with the Premium Economy cabin, if their service is offered. These regional planes though only have business and economy. Let's check out this morning's stats. We'd push back a mere 2 minutes behind schedule and climb up to 37,000 feet for the 95-minute ride to Ho Chi Minh City, where we'd arrive 2 minutes ahead of schedule. Around 5 years ago, with the arrival of these 787s and the regional variation of the A350s, Singapore Airlines introduced this new regional business class offering, a customized version of the Stylia Aerospace's Solstice 3-seat. The Solstice platform is used by many airlines, and the 3 variant is also found on Turkish Airlines' newer aircraft, as well as Vistara's 787s. Let's take a look at the details of the seat. The cabin is laid out with 9 rows in a single long cabin, featuring 36 business class seats. For today's flight, I went with 17 Alpha, one of the seats that ends up being closer to the windows. The seats provide a solid and comfortable product, especially considering these are just their regional seats. The last time I reviewed this seat on their A350s, I mentioned that I wasn't really a fan of it because of the wing that intrudes on your shoulder space and kinda blocks your window view partially. But I'll admit, after this flight and a recent Vistara flight, it is growing on me. The module, by design, do have their fair bit of scratchy and textured plastics, but the seat itself and the wrap around the seat is plush and comfortable. Touch-sensitive controls and the remote are just beside the seat, and there's a mirror that pops out from the console. Each seat had a pillow and blanket waiting on it, and this is the wing that blocks the view that I mentioned before. As is customary on 787s, the windows are shadeless and are dimmed electronically. There's plenty of space to store a backpack under the footrest, and the footrest itself is really deep, making for a long 74-inch bed. The tray table extends from under the entertainment screen, but I always find these tables to be lacking stability. The monitor can also pivot down, making viewing more comfortable. On the side here, there's a graphic noting a place to put your shoes, but I think I'm missing something. Are you supposed to put your shoes in what they're using for the literature? I can't imagine that's the case. Standard juice, champagne, or water pre-departure drinks were passed out. Above your side table is a storage nook which can hold headphones, a bottle of water, and your menu, and it has a door that closes. Singapore's headphones are decent quality, but I do at least appreciate that you'll find these on all flights, not just on their long-haul flights. The regional pillows are fine for short flights, but they're nowhere near as nice as the long-haul pillows, and the blanket was just weird. It felt more like a cheap towel than a blanket. Alright, let's get going. We would taxi over to the far side of the airport and get ready for the spool up and takeoff, or so we thought.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We discontinued our takeoff because the wind direction has changed and it exceeded our takeoff limits. We have now repositioned ourselves to wait for another attempted takeoff when the wind speed is within our limits. Thank you for your attention and understanding.
Alright, this time for real. Before the meal service begins, let's take care of some basics. The IFE on Singapore is always good and includes a variety that you can see on your screen now. If I remember correctly, this is a recent change that they're now offering Penhaligon's products on regional flights too, as well as proper hand towels. And my all-time favorite bathroom feature, the foot pedal waste bin. Here you can take a look at the full menu. Note that this is also the standard drink assortment that was offered on my last flight from South Africa. The red price tags are current retail prices for the wines on offer in the US. On my last flight from South Africa, Book the Cook wasn't available, which I was a little bit bummed about, but I did thoroughly enjoy the food on board. For this flight, Book the Cook was available, but the most interesting thing that I found was actually on the regular onboard menu, Roti Jala. Malaysian-styled coconut net crepes served with a beef curry. It was a really, really good breakfast, though I don't think I would call carrots, peas, and potatoes seasonal vegetables. It came with a selection of breads, strawberry yogurt, and fresh sliced fruit. Singapore always outperforms on these short regional flights. By the time the breakfast service was done, we were nearly approaching Vietnam already, so sleep wasn't really necessary, but here we can take a look at the full flat position of the seat. Thanks to both armrests having the ability to be lowered, it provides a reasonably comfortable position as long as your shoulders aren't that wide. Had to get the seat back together quick though, because it was already time to start our descent and we were soon crossing over the Mekong. As is done almost year-round, we would land from the northeast with views of a hazy Saigon to the left. We pulled up next to an Asiana A321. I have 2 Asiana flights booked for later this year, and then it was time to run to immigration. Alright, let's get into the flip-flop score. There's really pretty little to fault here. Food, service, seat, all high standards as usual. A chaotic gate and a less than amazing blanket were the biggest faults, but I mean, I'm being picky. Almost forgot. Every time that I fly into Saigon, I get questions about why my next video isn't a video from Saigon. My next video still isn't a video from Saigon, but I promise I do have 7 or 8 hotel videos coming from Vietnam this year. I'll see you next time on Nok Air to Bangkok.